Why Gen Z needs to start therapy right now. I was addicted to video games, recently graduated nursing school, and had developed anxiety through a toxic relationship. Therapy changed my perspective on life, and I wanted to share this with you and see if you can relate. I always thought that therapy was just deep breathing and all this mumbo jumbo, but after I started focusing on my mental health, I learned it was so much more. I'm sure some of you may relate to this. Growing up, my mom did not believe in mental health resources in fear that it may be on my permanent record. I was told to just stop thinking about things so much and just be happy. Being a guy, there's also this social pressure to toss your feelings aside and just be a tough guy. Going into college and one of my first serious relationships, I didn't know much about my own mental health or feelings. This would eventually lead to my most anxious year. Two things led to my anxiety in college: my relationship and nursing school. I met a girl on Hinge and we hit it off instantly. After the honeymoon phase, things are very, very different. I'm sure this is something many of you have experienced. We would never talk out our problems. It would always lead to the silent treatment, and it would go on for days and days until someone would finally start talking. That in itself is so bad in building relationships. The second issue with my relationship was thinking things are always my fault. I've always had an issue with guilt in my childhood, but at the time I always pinned the blame on me. But I learned that a relationship is maintained by two people. We dated for about a year before we eventually imploded on many issues that were left unresolved. This is a theme in many relationships that could be solved with a little bit of awareness from therapy. Feeling stressed and feeling anxious in certain situations is a normal human response, but it's what we do about it that makes the real difference. So ask yourself, the last time you were stressed, what did you do? Did you go eat a whole pizza by yourself? Did you play 20 games of League of Legends? Did you go on a run? What did you do to cope with that stress is the thing that matters the most with mental health. So my coping mechanism at the time when I felt stressed or anxious was just play League of Legends. And I think that season in 2023, I played about 1,000 games of League of Legends that year. Obviously, this was a very unhealthy way to deal with stress and anxiety, and this would eventually lead to my downfall. Maybe it's my mind trying to repress the memory, but I don't particularly remember what we were arguing about. All I can remember is tears just rolling down my face and breathing really quickly. And it's not until recently that I learned that this was an anxiety attack. If any of you have ever felt this, it's this pressure on your chest and not being able to breathe correctly. It's like you're just breathing rapidly and can't take full breaths. All I would do was play League of Legends instead of actually having my brain think about what I was feeling and what I could do. Your unhealthy coping mechanisms may not be League of Legends. It could be overeating, it could be drinking, it could be doing drugs, it could be many other things. But there's a similarity in all these unhealthy coping mechanisms. Their job is to distract you from your own negative feelings instead of facing those feelings. And I'm not saying these things are unhealthy by themselves, but when you use them to distract yourself, they can be. So what did I eventually do to solve my issues? Thankfully, my workplace offered free therapy for its employees. Going into therapy, I was thinking just like you. I was very skeptical, I was unsure, and I did not know if this would work. I think therapy has two main jobs. The first job, talking to a therapist and talking through your feelings and actually realizing why you're feeling these feelings. The second one is having healthy coping mechanisms so that when you do have negative emotions, you learn how to regulate these emotions and have some sort of clarity. And this clarity can actually give you awareness. And you're probably asking yourself, why do I even care? Why do I need to be aware of my feelings? If you're aware of your feelings, you could potentially find the source of why you're feeling these feelings and what is causing these feelings, and eventually have some sort of solution. If we run back the example of my ex-girlfriend, then let's say I actually listened to my emotions. Let's say I thought to myself, why am I feeling these feelings right now? Am I mad at my girlfriend? Am I mad at nursing school? Or is it something else? In this way, you're actually finding the source and not just distracting yourself. In this scenario, if either one of us were aware of our feelings, then it would just lead to better communication overall. It wouldn't solve the actual issue that's going on, but at least we can articulate our feelings so that we can get closer to some sort of solution. It may not even be a solution, but just trying to understand each other. So that's about relationship dynamics, and that may be a topic we talk about some other time. I'm not a therapist, I'm not an expert, I'm just someone that went through therapy and felt like I changed for the better. Some things that actually helped me out a lot was being bored and not doing anything. Journaling every day, sitting and looking at the sunset. I think being bored is actually very helpful. Nowadays, we just look at our phone or play video games or do whatever, and we never really get to sit down and think about things. When I'm bored and not really doing anything, I think those are the times where you actually listen to the thoughts in your head. And you may not even be aware of whatever you were thinking until you actually sit down and think. Okay, so now you know what you're thinking about. Now what? I think this is when journaling comes into play. Being bored is good, but it doesn't have organized thoughts. When you write things down in your journal every day, you organize these thoughts. And it doesn't have to be long, it could just be for maybe 2 minutes. But it's like talking to a therapist, but the therapist is yourself. You're regulating your own emotions through paper. You start to pick up on patterns of why you're feeling certain ways, and you can actually read and think through certain feelings. This again brings up the theme of being aware. And one of the main things I did at first was actually sitting down and looking at a sunset, looking at the ocean, or just looking at something in nature. I think this is a term referred to as grounding, but what it does for me is just kind of remove all the clutter that's already in my brain. So in conclusion, if you have resources or you have some sort of way to get therapy, I think it's going to be a really good idea for your mental health. It'll give you mental clarity, awareness, and therapy is just really good at trying to give you the tools in which you can thrive as a person. I appreciate you guys for clicking on this video. I've just been trying to make content or make videos just because I never really had some sort of creative outlet. And I'm doing two things that I like to do, which is talking about my life experiences and playing video games. So I'd really appreciate it if you guys would like to follow this channel just for self-improvement or just trying to start things. I have my Discord linked in the bio in case you guys want to check out the community or play some video games together.